Now this is a chapter house. This was like a kind of confession chamber basically. Every morning the monks would meet together here, silently as per usual, and somebody would read to them and then they'd speak to the abbot and confess their sins from which they'd receive punishments. Oh look, there's a ghost of an ancient one there. And in the corner here you can see the remains of a book cupboard. Although the books must have got very wet. And underneath the windows here, these are the benches on which the monks would have once sat and thought rude things. We're now heading up the stairs next to the chapter house. This would have once housed the monks' dormitory. It's very musty and dim, as you can see, and these appear to be, I don't know, tops of tombs or something. Very spooky. So this is the dormitory. As I say, this is above the chapter house, and the monks would have slept here, and they would have got up at 2 o'clock every morning for their first prayers of the day, and then they'd have gone back to bed again and got up at dawn. Now this here was once the doorway from which they could enter the church directly from this dormitory. In the 16th century, this entire whole room was converted into the abbot's lodgings. Now when this abbey was built, it housed 20 monks and up to 40 lay brothers, but at the time of the dissolution in 1536 it only had 1 abbot and 6 monks left, which must have meant they had a lot of space each, because they probably got on each other's nerves, all being miserable and not talking all the time. Leading out from the monks' dormitory you can just see the remains of the church over there. Beautiful Gothic type romantic view.
With a caravan site.
Oh yes, in the distance, there we are. That was actually the monks' caravan site. They used to go camping each summer. This is all that remains nowadays of the monks' cloister. This would have once been a covered walkway leading round this grass quadrangle. And as you've just seen go past, there we are, southeast corner, that was meant to have been a washing trough. I think you could have sort of like thrown about 3 or 4 monks in it at one time. That's the other side of the doorway you saw blocked up in the monks' dormitory, and this was their latrine block. Not exactly high-tech, is it? These foundations here is all that's upstanding still of the monks' dining hall. Obviously this is where the monks would eat each day in silence. And as you can see, just here in the corner, now that tiny remaining part of a staircase used to lead to a pulpit where one of the monks would read to the others. And just next to the remains of the monks' dining hall, this was the kitchen. You can just about see, I'd imagine that was a fireplace there in the corner. Now this was situated between the monks' dining hall and the lay brothers' quarters, so it could serve both at the same time. Past the remains of this drain, this used to be their day room where they'd play billiards and darts and have a few games of poker. This is the edge of the lay brothers' quarters. You can see there isn't a doorway going to the church, so I would imagine this part here used to be the entrance to their quarters where they get into the church from there. Now this is the west front of the church. As you can see, it's got a beautiful rose window at the top. How that survived so many years, who knows. And here we are standing in the remains of the church. Typical Abbey church, although certainly these the walls appear higher than usual. And this is one of the transepts. This is the north transept. So what it was used for, I don't know. Perhaps monks had been naughty and weren't allowed out to sit in this one or something, I'm not sure. I'm now standing at the east end of the church. The other side of that window is the most famous view of VALLE CRUCIS. Blocked up doorways or little cubby holes, who knows. Although there is one amazing relic remaining. See, that was a monk's generator. That's how they used to get their electricity, and they'd have electric lights here, and they'd have their ghetto blasters powered by things like that. They weren't allowed video recorders though, because the Cistercian order didn't allow them. Standing above that is the other side of the night stair. That's the south transept where the monks would actually come down for their night service. Going back in the north transept, here we have another pulpit. So this is a monk's eye view. There we are, some steps there. Seems to be more remaining of this one than the others. So this is the view a monk would have had, eh? This was a trough in the north transept. Apparently they fed the monks from this. They didn't treat them very well. This is the remainder of the pulpits in the actual church. This is where the monks did bungee jumping. As you can see, it sort of like stops abruptly. The monks used to attach themselves to a bungee here and they'd jump off. They didn't actually go very far, but it seemed to amuse them at the time. This short area across here was the choir crossing. In the eastern part of the south transept, there's the remains of this place. As you can see, it's still got some vaulting intact, but not much. This was probably called the monks' spooky room, and they'd sit on those seats there and try and spook each other out with ghost stories or Ruth Rendell mysteries. This would have housed the monks' television. Now, it was originally built, obviously, with the rest of the abbey in 1201, but was later that century damaged very badly by a fire, and they had to rebuild the whole thing. They didn't have any bricks left at the time, so as you can see, that west front there is actually built out of Lego. Just on the other side of this archway lurks the only remaining monastic fish pond in Wales. Not that there could have been that many anyway. You just go around this corner here, and oh, they've turned it into a house. Come on everybody, let's follow Eddie to the fish pond.
The Olympic swimming pool used by the monks.
As you can see, that's the monks' picnic tables. They used to have an apple and a packet of crisps and something like that, a sandwich, a jam sandwich, and they'd sit at those picnic tables and watch the other monks doing the fishing. They're rather nasty, the monks, the way they caught fish. They just used to actually get a standard fishing line. They wouldn't actually bait the thing because they didn't want to spend the money on bait. And they'd get the fish, and when they're gone, they'd actually rip their eyes out. As you can see, just above, is the view of Valley Crucis that is stuck in every single tourist book in the entire world you've ever seen that's something to do with Wales. Sited next to the fish pond is this building. Now this would have been the monks' game house, their little clubhouse. They'd go there sort of like most evenings of the week, and that would really be their TV room. Although they had a TV in the church, they were TV addicts, and they would sit there and watch El Dorado or EastEnders. A favourite of theirs used to be Juliet Bravo. Of course, Juliet Bravo was taken off the screens after the dissolution of the monasteries. After the dissolution in 1536, Henry VIII was rather nasty, and he says no, the monks will have no toilets situated near the abbey. So they had to run a great distance every time they needed the privy to these outhouses over here, every time they needed to go to the toilet. It's one of the nasty things that Henry VIII did. Apparently he killed some of his wives as well. Back on the other side of the fish pond, this was the wall surrounding the abbey, although I don't know how much of it could be original. It does seem to be very orderly now anyway. This is actually going on the outer part of the north transept. We're now walking down the length of the church. See, there's the rose window up above us there. That is Eddie.
Hello.
Hello, Eddie. Lovely view of the hills. And this is us coming out again.
I was actually here myself. This is the only time you'll see me in a church. Yeah, you can stop now. You stopped.